All right, this is a basic introduction to how to record with Audacity. This video is designed to accompany the written guide available from the NIRIS director or other folks, our news director as well, depending on what you're involved with here at the station. Now, again, because it's designed to go with that guide, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. This is just designed to be a quick little entry so you can see how this all works. So here at the opening screen for Audacity, you have these nice links to help, manuals, forums, frequently asked questions, things like that. So feel free to use those resources. Good community surrounding and supporting Audacity. Okay, so we click through that. We want to make sure our hardware is set properly. That's the first thing. You're not going to be getting any audio if you don't have that set up correctly. So in my case, I'm using a standard microphone into a USB audio interface. So this is my audio interface. If I were using a USB microphone, you may just see the name of the microphone here. It may say something like USB codec. It kind of depends on your particular system. But this will be the device that is that's translating the audio from the microphone to the computer. This is the channel. So in my case, since I'm using an interface, I have multiple channels I can plug into. I'm just plugging into channel 1. And then this is the output device. If I were going to use my laptop to monitor it, if I were just to plug headphones straight into that, I would have to set that to built-in output. But since I'm using that interface, it's 16A that's the interface I'm using. Also, our project rate, we want to make sure that's at 44.1. That is perfect for spoken word. Any less, it's going to lose quality. Any more, you're just creating a bigger file, and it's going to take longer to work with. So 44.1 is the magic number there. Some other things here that we'll want to keep our eye on. While you're recording, you'll be watching this counter down here. That's going to show you how much time has elapsed in your recording. Once you start moving things around, you'll be looking at this counter down here as you click your cursor around in the file. Now let's make sure we're getting audio right now. So we're going to go up here to this is the input level monitor here. So we'll click that, and we should see, there we go. There's some good level here. We want to be peaking right around in this range, not too hot up here because that will ruin your recording. You'll have bursts of static white noise sound intermittently as you hit that 0 mark. We do not want to do that. We also do not want it to be way too low like that, for example, because then you can always make it louder later, but when it's buried down that far, there's a lot of digital noise and things that will also be boosted in volume as you raise that. So that will make things very noisy. So the sweet spot is right about in here, right between 21-ish and -9. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's what we want to aim for. So once we're getting audio there, that means we can just hit record, and we're good. We'll see our blue amplitude waveform. So that's the volume of our audio that's going in. You'll see that right there. Now, we'll just stop recording there for a second. Let's say we made a mistake there, we just want to nix that whole track. You just go up to the X right here, gone. Simple as that. Whoops, I wanted to keep that. You've got an undo button right here. So boom, that brings it back. And you can also redo. So we'll re-delete that. Now let's say we'll start recording, and we're talking, and we've got exactly what we want all through here, but then, oops, we make a little mistake right at the end. So we stop recording. We just use our selector tool here to find where that mistake is by listening. So let's say this is where our mistake is. We'll just highlight that just like we would highlight text in a document, and then you hit your delete key on your keyboard, and boom, there goes that. It's gone. If the mistake is in the middle, let's say you just keep reading and you record through and just finish the whole piece and then come back and edit out your mistakes later, that's just as easy to do. Let's say this is a nice long piece and we just have one tiny little cough or something that we want to get rid of. So we just once we've found that, we just highlight it, we hit delete, and what it did is it deleted that little snippet, and then it snapped those two remaining pieces together. So that is how that works as well. Now, you'll want to be careful because if you stop recording and then you go to start again, you need to make sure of where your cursor is at. Wherever your cursor is at, it's going to start a new track below that and start recording. And if you do that in the middle of your piece, it's going to end up mixing two audio sources together, which is going to sound messy at the end. So if you're doing the case where you make a mistake and then you want to start over right before where you had left off, let's say this is the mistake right here, right at the very end, delete that. And then we want to start recording again. We just need to make sure the cursor is right there at the end of the file before we hit record again. And then you'll see it creates that second track, and then we're back off to the races there. So that's that. Let's say, we finished, we look at our cursor. Okay, I've got my, in this case, 11-second sound file. We can either save the project if we need to come back to it, which is, it may look differently if you're on Windows, but File, Save Project As. Or if you are done, you're satisfied, you can just export that mixed down audio. Now, again, this is going to take all those tracks and mix it down into one mono track. So just be aware of that you don't have any overlaps where you don't mean to have any overlaps. So in this case, we're going to save this audio. We'll just call it test.wave. We're going to save it to the desktop. And it's good practice to save a master copy. Even if you end up emailing somebody an MP3 version of it, you want to save that original file as a wave. It's uncompressed. There's no encoding algorithm that's been applied to it, so it's not going to sound digital, like it has digital artifacts and lost fidelity and things like that. So test.wave, that's what we want, the wave Microsoft signed 16-bit PCM. Even though I'm on a Mac, it's a Microsoft. So we'll do that, and we go save, and it's just going to warn you that everything's going to be mixed down to a single channel. Yes, we want that. Okay, we don't need the metadata. Okay. So there you go. That is that. You've got the finished file that you then forward on to your NIRIS director or news director, whatever this is for. Again, if you do think you will need to come back to that audio, it's a good practice to save that project. Just keep it archived somewhere. That way, if there ends up being anything, if there's any issues with the audio, you can revisit it before you have that permanent copy pressed with the test.wave. So that is the basics. That's the basics of Audacity. If you have any issues, any questions, feel free to reach out to your NIRIS director or myself, Carl Nelson, multimedia specialist. You'll find that information here as well. Happy recording.